Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Hell Clock. This is the game that we're going to have a look at today. If you're not across it, I do overviews on this channel. It's where I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game. It's a Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time. I generally agree, and as a rule would say 20 hours in, probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's a short punchy video, broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes, and you can make up your mind on your own. Also, might just insert this here as a little experiment. I'll work on the patter. I don't usually ask for anything at all for all these years, but having a look at my analytics, it seems that it's a pretty ridiculous number of people that aren't subscribed that watch my content. So maybe we run an experiment for the next month where I just do a gentle nudge and say, hey, look, if you like my content, if you like these daily overview videos, then just make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we'll see if that moves the needle if we do this for a month or so. Anyway, Hell Clock, holy heck. What an absolutely excellent game. I am so blown away. I probably could have set that up better because going into this, I was quite skeptical, apprehensively excited. Here's a couple of, not red flags, but a couple of thoughts of what was going through my mind going into this. At first blush, the look is excellent, but it's also something I've seen before in Curse of the Dead Gods. Love that game, really enjoy that. But thematically and with this sort of dark Latin, I suppose you could say, this thing's based around Brazil's War of Canudos. There's like a slaughter in this town. It seems to be a rich part of their history, and the developer Rogue Snail are Brazilian themselves. So good for them, you know, for getting into something that's probably exciting and interesting to them. But Curse of the Dead Gods has a sort of Aztec-y, dark Cthulhu magic thing going on. So these games look very similar, art style, camera perspective, and thematically. And the other thing is, straight out of the gate, I think one of the first videos you can look up on this from the developer, they're purporting that this is an exile-like, right, like Path of Exile, but also a roguelike, which sounds cool, music to my ears, but also massively incompatible. A huge part of what makes Path of Exile so cool is that it's not really run-based outside of hardcore. You know, those ARPGs, a lot of it is about building up your gear. So I know a little bit of a setup, but that's what I knew going in, and I'm here to tell you that it actually sticks the landing, and it does exactly what it says written on the box, and it's in no way a rip-off of Curse of the Dead Gods. In fact, like I said, if you looked at footage side by side, you would be forgiven for mistaking them to be similar. In execution, they're radically different. But yeah, the fact that this feels like an ARPG, like a Path of Exile, like a Diablo, and yet it's really tightly compacted into rogue-like mechanics is a huge feat, and it works so well, and I just want to jump back in and keep playing it. I'm really hooked. So there's your preamble. Let's peel back the layers a little bit. Effectively, the way that this controls, it lets you choose between WASD and mouse control. I tried WASD at first, but it didn't really feel right. I'm pretty sure the way you want to play this is with mouse click movement, just like you would play an ARPG. And then you can see on the skill shot menu, you know, you've got your right click, your 4 abilities, a dodge. All of this is familiar if you've played something like Diablo. And through the course of a run, I suppose one of the similarities to the flow state of something like Curse of the Dead Gods is it's kind of corridor-like. There are some little side passages you can probably see on the map, but for the most part, you're just kind of transiting, let's say, from diagonal bottom left to diagonal top right. It's not a huge sprawling cave where you have to backtrack. It is kind of a thunder run, linear, kill 'em all, race against the clock. The game hasn't really explicitly explained yet why you're stuck in this time loop, and it is just sort of meeting out the story slowly. Like, it's interesting, and it's all in Portuguese, I suppose. So it's actually really rich and interesting and unusual, but the way that it's telling you what's going on is very piecemeal. But yeah, you're stuck in this time loop of a 7-minute run. 7-minute abs, and that's actually kind of perfect. There are moments where it will pause, like you can hit the pause menu, you can turn that off actually when you start the game, and it also recommends you do not do that. So if you want to pause and look at inventory and figure out what's going on, or go take a shit or something like that, you can pause it. But then there will be some set piece moments, boss fights, or, you know, protect yourself against a couple of waves of dudes, and it will freeze the clock in those moments. But yeah, it's actually quite intense. You do really feel that time pressure in the best possible way, and so much of the meta progression and mechanics are built around, you know, power scaling each run and trying to run further and further. One of the really cool novel ideas that I've unlocked on the meta tree is this thing called a red portal. So there's a chance that that will spawn at the beginning of a level that you've already beaten previously. And if you go into that red portal, it will actually jump forward a floor, and there are more upgrades so it can jump more floors as well. So you can use that to eke out more clock basically, but at the same time you're jumping forward, potentially not as leveled up, but you're also balancing that you've got meta layers to your level up as well, so jumping forward's not as punishing the more you play. As someone who can be very critical of meta progression in roguelites, like we were talking about it just the other day with He Is Watching, or The King Is Watching, or whatever the bloody hell it's called, good game, but really big outsourcing on the meta progression. And this has other things like you can extend the length of the clock as well. So I love that that's built into it, not just as a gimmick held over your head to make you move. So you thunder run through, you kill all the dudes, you'll get, boss elite type things. Again, my touchstone is more Diablo 3, Diablo 4. I've played a bunch of Path of Exile 1 and 2. I'm kind of just going to wait till it's out of early access, honestly. But these sort of named blue and yellow elite creatures will pop up. As you level up through the run, you'll be able to upgrade roguelite, increase your life, increase your magic power or whatever. So in the run, self-contained, it's all fairly roguelite, albeit with the Path of Exile's mechanics, the action RPG, which is really tight, really fun, really clean, and you've got the skill shots that you start with. But as far as like changing, it's not like you equip new gear or anything like that. You have these sort of like vigor slots, relic slots, and you'll just pick up trash loot that will auto-equip and auto-replace whatever it is that you got. So like if you've got a tome of accuracy or some crap like that, right, and it's at plus 1%, if you manage to roll a better one on the floor, it'll just auto vacuum and pick up, right? Same goes for potions and that. If you're at 3 potions and you pick up one, it will auto heal and auto consume. So there's a lot of quality of life in there. But as far as the run based moment to moment, you're not in your inventory. You're not changing anything around. You're not really unlocking new gear other than like an end of sequence, end of floor boss battle where you can unlock relics. And at that point, let's go back and talk about the meta layer. So outside of it, you've got like an upgrade sprawling tree, which I alluded to before, hell clock upgrades, health upgrades, pretty standard stuff. You've also got an act-based skill shot upgrade tree. I don't know what else to call it, where you pay a fairly nominal point cost to unlock your dude's skills, right? And you can freely slot them into the hotbars. So right click, Q, E, R, that sort of stuff. So you build your character's kind of class skill shots before you go into a run. And they're fairly diverse, you got some cool machine gun sort of ones I started with, but I'm a sucker for meme abilities. That's why Diablo 3 is probably my favorite. I used to do bloody leaderboard Witch Doctor runs because the Witch Doctor is such a fucking joke of a character, and I got really good at him, I suppose, ironically. Vomiting on people and throwing frogs at stuff and shit like that. Oh, so good. I'm getting flashbacks. But you can get a giant bell, which is kind of thematically in tune with this church that's dilapidated that you're sort of living out of. And it reminds me of, I suppose, like that monk had a bell in one of the games. It might have been Diablo 3. So I've been explicitly taking everything I can to just make the bell build work. So as far as other slottable items, I've got sort of defensive, not mana-based activatables, area attack dagger things, and they're more cooldown-based. And I just keep slamming this bell on everything that comes near me, and it's so fun. Because there is also another layer to the gear. How to do this. There's 2 parts. One of them is a sort of starting gear equipment thing. Probably the closest you're going to get to what you're wearing in your, shirt, belt. Pistol is sort of the default weapon as well, because if you run out of mana, your default attack kicks in. So like for the bell, for example, if I try and fire the bell and I don't have much mana, which often happens because it's a huge mana sink, it'll auto fire my pistol, which is a generator, this concept that was introduced in Diablo 3 and 4. So having, a better attack speed, better damage for that is helpful. So you can use that meta currency to actually buy starter shirt, rusty pistol, that sort of thing. And these are permanent in-slot upgrades. You can actually drop them during the run. It's very rare. They're sort of like a super rare drop, and it will perma replace the gear, but that's only going to come out of like a super boss dude or an elite, I suppose, not like a super boss, just like a yellow elite that you bump into in the field. And they've all got a roll percentage as well. They've got bounds, so it's got all of that ARPG stuff there. So as far as like your actual gear that you wear, it's more interested in incrementally, very slowly leveling it up so that your starting baseline rises with the tides as it is, right? So you get progression. As far as actual build crafting, that's the other side. It's a thing called relics, and you can get them from all sorts of rarities. You've got a very small kind of Tarkov-like slottable area. I think it's a 4x4 grid, but you can level it up through the tree. And that's where you get your actual really build diversity when you compare that to the slottable skills as well. So like I said, I use the bell a lot. The bell also has its little, I don't think it's suffixes, but like it says what it is, like area damage, like plague damage, magic damage, stuff like that, right? Stuff that, and I haven't played Diablo 4 in quite a bit, but I remember the readability around the tags was very clean in that game, regardless of what you think of it, and it's doing something similar there. So a lot of the relics I'm equipping, if they don't explicitly have a bonus for the bell, because some of them will, it'll be like there's an inverse proportion to life lost to damage dealt or whatever, right? But there might be something that has a random roll suffix that says, you know, plus 17% plague damage, so I slot that in my relic thing. So you still have that build diversity mixed in with meta progression trees, mixed in with skill shots, mixed in with, like I said, a meta base armor set that levels up, but you can also get bits of it in the run. It's actually outrageous how well this works. All the moving parts locking together. And again, I'm going on a bit longer, but this bore exploring and talking about. But if you hear me say it's a mix of Path of Exile, but also like a 7-minute roguelike run based thing that you just want to keep running, and if you feel skeptical about that, you are in good company. That's exactly my reaction when I heard it, and I'm here to tell you I've done a 180 flip on it. This is excellent, and it sets a standard, and I really hope that we start seeing more of these Path of Exile like roguelikes, because they stuck the landing here. And often, I'm a big roguelike fan, it doesn't matter what it is, card-based, turn-based, but generally speaking, they're not usually super robust when it comes from an actual action fidelity gameplay loop, like something from a Diablo or whatever, you know, an intense moment-to-moment reaction-based experience. A lot of them, you know, become turn-based and slower. Nothing wrong with that, but this to me is really proof positive of being able to crack that mold and show that, yeah, you can have a really good roguelike experience, but you can also have a great moment-to-moment action gameplay loop at the core of it. Anyway, at a certain point, I'm waffling, so let's wrap it up there. Like I said earlier in the video, if you aren't subscribed already and you've made it this far, you might as well be. We'll run this experiment for a month and see if me bumping people will actually be helpful, or if it's just another internet urban myth. I guess we'll see. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I will catch you guys on the next one.